This seems like a pretty good seed. I was intent on starting a new world, and I was gonna keep on starting new ones until I found a nice seed that I was happy with, but this one already looks pretty good. Oh, I forgot to generate a freaking starter kit again. Oh well, some people consider that cheating anyway. It's such an underused thingy mechanic purely because people think it's cheating, and I wanted to give it some love. Anyway, we got a flower forest and I start on the plains. There's no village nearby. I have a mod that makes generated structures appear less often, which is fair considering all my mods add like a shit ton of new things, you know. Anyway, there's a ship here, which I guess is as good as a starting structure as any. That's a waterlogged cave. I love waterlogged caves. Please note, that was sarcasm. I hate this book. I love acorns. That's a lie, actually. Since I spawned on a mountain, I might get some of my beloved surface level iron. I know these guys, I know flying fish in real life are fucking pricks, but I'm gonna risk it. Thank you. This is technically a free furnace. Never mind, I forgot that's what happens whenever you... I love it when animals in fiction are nothing like animals in real life. And yet Mojang insists on not adding animals because accurately portraying them might change the way people view them in real life. Bone. Alright, so there's a sapling that just naturally spawned. That's new. That doesn't happen in vanilla. Or mountain climbing, baby. And I'm digging a hole for my first house. I think I'll make a bed this time around so I can actually get a spawn. Don't really need anything other than a stone pick. How much time do I have left? It's already midday. I have a feeling this will be a good first day. It does kind of suck that all the new generation being added. Whoops. makes it even more likely you'll spawn into somewhere hostile and just unfriendly for a new game. It's never happened until just now, probably because of all the new mods. Although there are more mods, the game taking is loading faster now, so that's real nice. But yeah, I removed all of the mods. All I really did was remove the Twilight mod. I was intent to try getting better MC to properly load all the mods in it, but I guess this is just a custom vanilla, a custom modded experience than it is a mod pack let's play. Maybe I should show off my mod list in case anyone's interested in copying my place or whatever. Why do I have charcoal? Ah, right. Ooh. I'm not afraid of the ocean. I'm not like Markiplier who's afraid of the ocean, but the Minecraft ocean is so freaking scary to me. Ooh, what is that? Ooh, what is this? I'm not really confident in going underwater until I've snagged myself some water breathing potions. And even then, snowier snow. I love snowier snow. I'm gonna need a shovel. Where my iron? Hmm. It's like a building that's been avalanched or something. Alright, I'm gonna ignore this place for now. Is this? Oh, that's an orchard. Iron is more likely to spawn above sea level. So just finding a stony shore like that is not gonna yield lots of iron, if any. Now what happened? Why is Minecraft suddenly just... Of course. They added... The mod adds more pillager places. Which I guess is cool, but I really don't like it. But that's just because I hate it when things are hard. That might be hard to believe considering I love playing hard games. Just because I love conquering challenges doesn't mean I like challenges. Does that make sense? It probably doesn't. Ooh! Yes! Yes, yes, yes! Yes, yes, yes! Oh, yes! Oh my! That's a lot of taxes! That's almost billions of dollars! I just need a couple, in all seriousness. How do you make seeds for these? Is it like the top or something? I think I just need to cut the stalk itself and then I just place down the stick. And it's not timber doing that. Bamboos are straight up the best wood type. Ooh, sheep. Ah, they're off color. Can't make a bed with that. I miss when there was only red beds. Now this is a familiar biome. Dun, 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 dun. A more than fitting place for my first house. This seems like a good spot. On second thought, I don't like this place. I just don't dig it. Yeah, there's the surface iron, my beloved. Is that a dungeon? It's a cave. I should probably make some torches. The charcoal's taking up space needlessly, so... Dun, 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 dun. I really need a place to settle. Already. Yabay, yabay, yabay. Right, it'll be a bit risky, but... Crags really kinda suck though. There's just so much variation. Yeah, this place might not be very spacious. Five by 5x2 might be the best I can make. Four by 4 is the best I can make. Wow, a classic red bed. What the fuck? think I'm gonna have to make the floor be useful for a lot of things. How do I make bamboo blocks? Woven bamboo. Alright, you need lots of blocks, it seems. You can make a bamboo mat. Can I make a bamboo door? Shit. Alright, the smooth experience was bound to stop eventually. Perfect time to load up a video.
Fuck!
The title king of games.
You!
Parents. Sorry, Kaiba, what
I
was
said
that?
it's time to duel!
Very well, Kaiba, but remember my words here and now. Until you believe in the heart of the cards, you'll never win this duel.
Believe all you want, Yugi, but I'm finally going to reclaim my title as the king of games here and now!
In this utterly arbitrary cathedral.
Just take your fucking turn, Yugi.
Very well, Kaiba. Let's see. Interesting. So that leaves me. Yes, I see. I end my turn.
What?
It's your turn, Kaiba.
You didn't do anything.
To your uneducated eye, perhaps. But to the rightful king of games, I have something very subtle and
Did you
clever.
brick?
Come again?
I said, did you brick?
What a laughable notion, Koiba. Can you even imagine?
Oh, thank money. For a moment there, I thought you'd bricked, and I was gonna win without you putting up a fight.
I'm afraid it won't be that easy, Kiba. You'll have to see what I have planned for you firsthand.
Nevertheless, your hand traps don't scare me, Yugi. I activate polymerization to fusion summon my Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon by sacrificing the 3 Blue Eyes White Dragon cards in my hand.
What a terrifying beast.
Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, attack Yugi's life points directly. Did you forget to activate it? We can do a redo if you want.
Activate what?
Hand trap?
Foolish, naive, Kelba. You'll see what I have in store for you when I draw my next card. And I end my turn.
You bricked, didn't you?
Oh, Kaiba, sweet Kiba, naive, foolish Koiba, innocent, inept, dumb fuck, hillbilly, couldn't tell his ass from his elbow, Kelba. If you believe
Neo
that,
Blue
then...
Eyes Ultimate Dragon, attack directly. I don't even care anymore. It's pretty fucking obvious you bricked, Yugi.
You truly are a master tactician, Kiba. I can only imagine your joy.
I finally... Yay. No, this doesn't feel right. I can't lord my victory over you when you didn't even get a chance to do anything.
Koiba, with your boundless, childlike faith in the heart of the cards, you can accomplish anything.
I demand a rematch.
3 hours later.
It's not possible for you to brick every game! Are you doing this to fuck with me? Is this so I don't achieve my dream of crushing you in a duel properly?
No, Kiba. Your faith in your friends and your belief in your cards...
I don't believe in
and
the
their explicit
fucking heart of the
contradictions
cards!
...has clearly thrust you into the coveted King of Games position. You must be so happy to have achieved your dreams.
Ah!
I just noticed there's a pop-up I remember about that mod that I didn't expect they'd show up in a very. I mean, it's nice that they're unobtrusive, I guess, but oh my, what happened here? Sucks to be that guy. Right, I should set up a waypoint. It should be in my bed instead. And keep it enabled. Yeah, there is a way to open backpacks. Fuck! That's only in the creative menu though. Not picking block and sorting the backpack is. It's entirely utilitarian, but hey, utilitarian's a good thing, right? Oops, I made too many pickaxes. Whatever. Nothing wrong with getting some more surface iron, I guess, for now. I should bench that book as well. What are you? I think the mod that reduces the structure rates also made it so villages are like extra rare. Apparently, modern generation has made villages spawn really often. I thought I've just been getting really lucky as of late. But apparently those things aren't special to get anymore. I need more wood. Right, they need to be smooth stone. I think Mandragoras can't spawn on the colder biomes, so that's nice. All I'm missing now are some J's. Ooh, look at this. Where are all the copper? I think copper can't spawn high up. That must be the case. Still very much unfamiliar with the new terrain generation. I don't know. I think a village is very much necessary for progression. I think I'm gonna start off with it, even though it should technically be faster and better if I just go set up farms and stuff right now and start trying to go for diamonds. But I hate being lonely.
Has completely changed Genshin Impact would be an understatement. Not even halfway through it, and already feels like every new character has the potential to give our existing teams a run for their money. It's been over a year since my last video on the 5 best teams in the game, so I think it's appropriate to make a new one. For today, we'll be renewing my video from last year, updated for 2024's current meta and roster, taking into account all the newcomers and weighing them against the best teams of the previous generation. Given that there are far too many teams to measure, I plan to include 2 honorable mentions as well, so technically I guess you can call this a top 7 video, but nonetheless, a few things I want to get out of the way. First being the criteria for how I judge a team's validity. Depending on who you ask, some will place emphasis on a number of factors more than others. For example, one person might favor sustainability or accessibility more, while another will value the absolute peak of what a team is capable of, disregarding the cost it takes to reach that point. Moreover, some may find a team very strong thanks to the general coverage, both in overall and domains, while another grades the strength of a team purely on the basis of their speedrun times and style of this. I'm going to try to keep things as general as possible. That is to say, this list is not ordered whatsoever, and I plan to make each choice as holistic as possible for the reason that I want everyone to prioritize playing who they feel most comfortable with. So if hypothetically you have a team with A, B, C, and D, but instead of C you want to include X, the team should still function well enough to perform regardless of whether you field C or X, provided they're the same element and have similar functions. Finally, I'm fully aware that an argument can be made for dozens of teams to be considered the best, and so I'd like to make this emphatically clear. Just because I do not include a team on this list does not mean they're bad or not worth using. Genshin Impact is not a zero-sum meta. Saying that X character is good doesn't make Y character bad. It would simply be too cumbersome to ascertain every possible what-if scenario and edge case. So take this video as a reference point on what to look out for, not as a black and white doctrine on who is good and who is bad. That being said, if you believe there are teams worth mentioning that I do not in this video, you're welcome to leave them in the comments down below. Without further ado, let's begin. Starting with the honorable mentions, the first one will be Child International. Over the years, his team has made itself known for effectively being the silver bullet of Genshin. As an all-purpose team composition that excels in both single-target and wave-clearing situations alike, Child was always a powerful unit, but it took a while for the general player base to grow wise to his actual potential. Conventional iterations of the international team entail himself alongside Bennett and Shenling and then Cousin. The gist of this
Why the
team
heck
is to
is
power
Y0
Child and
so
Shenling
far
as
away?
much as possible, who then power each other up through vaporize reactions. Though Child ultimately serves as a driver for Shenling, his own personal
And
damage
then
is quite
Spawn
good
and
and should be
Zero?
polished accordingly.
Spawn is
International
always
value
supposed to be
stems not
zero
from having
though,
the
isn't
best
it?
ceiling or even being the most
Huh.
efficient. In fact, some may argue the relatively higher chance of messing up on this team makes it less valuable than a more consistent one, to which I somewhat agree, which is why I placed him as honorable mention. But the benefit of International is that it's always a good option. There pretty much hasn't been a single Spiral Abyss iteration in the past year where Child International wasn't a good option for one of your two teams, and there likely never will be. You have the solid coverage of Hydro and Pyro damage along with extremely high base power on two characters with respectable area coverage and single target DPS. Realistically, the only weakness of International is that your hope for survival falls on Bennett, who may not be sufficient enough for more survival-oriented floors. Either way, you can't go wrong. Second honorable mention will be Animal Hybrid. Definitely a team I did not give enough credit in the past, but they're now slowly creeping up in the eyes of many. Animal is not known for being a carry-out. Historically, its units have only ever been viewed as supported in nature. Venti, Kosohazu, Gene, what have you. But there are two units in particular that diverge from this narrative, Wanderer and Shell, who both represent the Animal Hybrid carry team. As the name implies, the goal of this team is to kill everything with Shell or Wanderer. Both units make use of Bennett and Varazon, with the latter being the linchpin of this team. Though she's technically functional at base, the real strength of this team is derived from her Constellation 6. With this in play, Farzan and Fennec can elevate Shell and Wanderer's DPS to extreme heights, being able to compete with some of the game's best. The benefit of Animal Hybrid Carry is that, like Child International, it's good for single target damage and wave clear. Wanderer has a bit more easy of a time in AoE, but Shell can reasonably handle small cluster mods too. The attack boost from Bennett pairs nicely with them, and neither of them really need elemental mastery. You basically build them like you would any other hybrid carry. As for the fourth slot, defensive utility is usually the way to go. Totally for Shell or Toma for Wanderer. However, if you really want to go balls to the wall, you can run Farina, since Shell can dodge passive and correctly best way of jumping over everything, and Wanderer can move around while attacking so he can kite enemies. The main thing keeping this team is that unlike other 4 stars where constellations are nice, it's kind of obligatory for Farsan to be max constellation, in light of her literally being the heartbeat of this team. And as you know, trying to get C6 on a specific 4-star can either be really cheap, or more expensive than C2 or C3 in a 5-star, which is why I feel like it's best kept as honorable mention. On to our top 5 teams. As a reminder, this is not ordered. The first team I want to cover features one of the newest and arguably one of the strongest stars in the game, Neuvillette. This guy was so ridiculously overpowered that in his debut season, one of the best teams for 36-star Spiral Abyss was, and I'm not even kidding, just him. No team, solo move for the entire race. That gives you an idea just how powerful this man is. On screen it says Neuvillette, but I suppose the more appropriate team is Neuvillette Hybrid Carry. Depending on if you have C1 or not, the requirements for what is sufficient on him can differ. But for the most part, the team that I personally think is the best all covering would be him, Vishal, Jean, and Frida. If you have C2 Frida, then you can potentially swap out Jean for Kaza for even more damage. This allows you to
that's why
apply 2
Hydro
reactions
calls us
per
an
turn,
enemy
which
now
is
in the Abyss.
35% boost, and a 75% damage boost in C0 can make up the difference, and that's all. Of course, if you have C1 Nuke, then you get the best of both worlds. Though I said this list is not ordered, Neuvillette may potentially be the best team in the game if we go by just how all-purpose it can be. His single target damage is incredible, his area coverage is incredible, his uptime is incredible, his consistency is incredible. This guy does everything. Equitable Judgment does exquisite damage both against one enemy or several thanks to being able to move and spin around while you use it, having sufficient range to basically cover the entire chamber of Spiral Abyss if you stand in the center of it. Furthermore, he consumes no stamina during this attack and can fire 3 rounds of it when using his skill and burst combined, which gives him above average uptime. Team-wise, the only thing you really need to do for him is get 2 or 3 Hydro-based reactions on him. Hypothetically, if you don't have Farina, you can Jomin or Crystallize, or you can feel Decry and honestly doesn't matter who you play alongside. His own damage is so good that it carries the entire team. Like Mono Hydro though, he obviously is not a good choice against Hydro immune enemies, but outside of that, this guy is one of the easiest characters to play and use. All that's needed are Hydro-based reactions, Bloom, Electrocharge, Swirl, what have you, and you're good to go. Next team on this list will be Double Hydro. Double Hydro is quickly turned into one of the most widely used teams in the game by virtue of its simplicity and effectiveness. The first iteration of Double Hydro was utility a lot and usually some kind of defensive support like Zhongli, with the most classic example being Hu Tao and those 3. But in all honesty, you can basically run anyone up front and just rely on the sheer damage output of the Hydro outfielders. Now, with the inclusion of Farina, there are different variants you can go for. The one I have in mind specifically is the newest version of Hu Tao Double Hydro, featuring herself, Yelan, Farina, and Jean. By extension is what a few of my friends have coined the Flex State team. Yelan and Farina might be one of the strongest off-field DPS pairs in the entire game, both capable of outputting staggering amounts of Hydro damage and subsequently application, while simultaneously buffing the party, specifically the main damage dealer, on a skill hitherto never been seen before. All that remains is a healer to synergize with Farina, which can be Jean, Kokomi, Yao Yao, Charlotte, or Baiju, whichever you prefer, and then your main damage dealer, who for most people is Hu Tao. But just like before, only better, you can frankly run any damage dealer and brute force your way through anything. To give you an example of just how strong Farina and Yelan buff the main carry, they give so much damage that you can straight up disregard Staff of Homa and Hu Tao's own low health bonus because those two give so much more than that. Plus, if you run Jean, you get access to VV Shred for any Electro, Cryo, Pyro, or Hydro attack. Just to repeat though, Double Hydro comes down to which one you prefer from situation to situation. If Xingqiu's defensive
I do
utility
need a
is more
backpack
important than
first
Yelan's extra damage, then you can go Xingqiu Farina.
before I
You
start
Farina's HP
living my
Xingqiu
nomad
and Yelan
life.
are still very good. Likewise, your healer can be swapped around based on what you're looking for, and as for main damage, the Hu Tao is the easiest and most efficient on-fielder you can pretty much use.
Let's
That's
go
why it's
do
called
that.
Flex.
Go
Farina,
find some
Yelan, and
sheep.
healer can basically make any on-field damage dealer broken.
There's
This
some
team can
goats.
definitely struggle against burst-oriented teams though.
Goats
as well,
apparently
the healer is
drop
there to
level.
offset Farina's HP drain. More often than not, you'll be fighting in
And
half
sheep
your maximum
wool
comp, which
can
makes
be
you more
turned
vulnerable
into.
to getting one-shot compared to the more traditional double hydro team of Zhongli, Xingqiu, and Yelan. The damage is just so good that you can tear through any dungeon or boss before they have a chance to strike back. It is easily one of the best and most straightforward teams in the game to this day. Next team, or rather I should say teams as it's more of an umbrella term, is Dendro. Version 4 is gradually taking us away from version 2 and 3's reaction meta. Dendro is still the benchmark of Genshin Impact by which all other teams are measured against. Any variant of Dendro, Hyper Bloom, Quicken, Quick Bloom and such fit into this category, with the one exception being Nilo Bloom, who I'll cover in a moment. Unlike the previous two, who focus more on a specific combination of units, Dendro teams draw their value from accessibility. The best frontrunners of Dendro are without a doubt Nahida, Alhaitham, and Baishu, but generally, so long as you can pull off any of its reactions, you're good to go. To underscore just how powerful Dendro's damage floor is, a full team of 4 stars can out-damage many 5-star teams. For example, you can run Fischl, Shinobu, Xingqiu, and DMC, and clear through basically everything. Going to more specifics though, Alhaitham and Nahida serve as the linchpins of any Dendro team you can think of, with Baishu being a worthwhile alternative in tandem with Farina. Quicken and Hyper Bloom are both strong in their own ways, so you can basically run anything. Or usually what people do is run Quick Bloom, which is both of them at the same time. You simply need a ton of Dendro application, a ton of Electro application, and if you go Hyper Bloom, a ton of Hydro application. Spam as much of that together as possible, and you basically win. Dendro was fortunate enough to have a very efficient roster that delivers well on its needs, while coincidentally synergizing
Wow,
with two
that's a
elements
lot of
also
health.
efficient rosters, Hydro and Electro. That's the thing with Dendro, pretty much anything works. From Electro, you have Shinobu, Fischl, Beidou, Miko, Shogun, Sino, and Kotsing, who can also play Electro in various ways to be good at Hyper Bloom and or aggravate. From Hydro, you have Xingqiu, Yelan, Farina, Kokomi, Ayato, and even the Millet to help you out with blue teams, while in Dendro you have DMC, Tignati, Yao Yao, Baitu, Alhaitham, and Nahida. Just pick and choose from these pulls, and you have yourself at worst a competitively strong team, a testament to how much Dendro carries in this game, when literally anything works, so long as it's achieved in Quicken and or Bloom. Team number 4 will be Nilu. I know she's technically a Dendro team also, but given how unique she is and that it revolves around a character-specific mechanic, I think it's worth mentioning as a standalone category. Nilo Bloom follows the same basic principle as Standard Bloom, only instead of increasing the damage with Electro, she increases the damage of each Bloom core by herself. Setting her entire team as any combination of Hydro and Dendro with at least one each will empower any Dendro core that spawns from Bloom to explode much faster and have a larger AoE while dealing significantly more damage. How much more damage? For every 1000 points of max HP that Nilo has, over 30k will increase the damage of her bountiful cores by 9% up to a cap of 400%. So she basically lets you acquire similar to more damage as a Hyper.
Oh my god, I can eat maggots.
And more importantly, the increased
Oh my god.
bountiful cores gives her impressive area coverage.
That was
compensating
terrible.
for your inability to field animal units like Venti or Kasama. And more area coverage means more Dendro cores can hit more enemies versus Hyper Bloom, which has much less AoE. Nilu is a very restrictive unit. You can only use Hydro and Dendro units, which to many is a big turn-off. Merely having an Electro, Animo, or any unit not of those two elements prevents her from functioning. But in most if not all cases, the payoff is more than worth the austere conditions. Dendro's reactions alone are exceptionally powerful, and Nilu amplifies Bloom that much more. She has plenty of options for Dendro and Hydro application that once again, it doesn't really matter who you bring as long as they can apply either or. The only real stipulation for Nilu's team is that you want to have someone who can heal you and fast, as Manifold Cores can damage the active character when they explode too. By considering the abundance of healers from either element, Kokomi, Barbara, Yao Yao, and Baichu, that's hardly what I would call a problem. In totality, while one would consider Nilabloom to be a niche team, it is so powerful that through sheer force it transcends being a niche and becomes an all-purpose team that works on pretty much anything. Nilou is an example of a gimmicky character that was designed to where that gimmick does not impede practicality. Final team I want to talk about is another newcomer, Linny. Some of you may be surprised to see this after I said in my first impressions video that Linny is on par with Yoimiya, but let's just say I was vastly underestimating him. Hey, in my defense, it was my first impressions. Anyways, Linny is actually one of the best single target damage dealers in the game, which is impressive given the way he does it. As you know, Linny's party trick revolves around Mono Pyro, with the typical team entailing himself, Shenling, and Benny, of course, and then a Flex. Usually
Robin.
courtesy of one of his passive talents, he can deal almost double damage to enemies affected by Pyro if there are 3 Pyro characters on his team.
Oh my god, what?
That's why you include Bennett and Shenling. The reason Linny's damage is so high though is that how many ways it can be amplified both from within and without. Next to dealing double damage against Pyro affected
The pearls
enemies,
are
he can
hard
also
to get,
use
but
damage of its elemental skill based on the
what's
number
harder
of
to get is
possible
getting a
steps, which can
trident.
turn it into a humongous
That's
swing.
definitely a
And
worth it
should be
trade.
someone to aim shot attacks are very high base damage
I
too,
just need those
especially thanks to his other
freaking
passive
bitches
talent.
that...
No other way to put it. Winnie's base damage is immaculate, which he can then almost double damage in his team to boost his damage even further. For all intents and purposes, Winnie is a hybrid character. Kosoho and Mina can boost his damage through their own various ways, with the former increasing elemental damage and Vivi shredding Pyro, and the latter giving total damage while vaporizing a few hits. Since you have 3 Pyro units, they can maintain the Pyro status without Farina overriding it with Hydro. As mentioned before though, it's important to note that this team is not known for its AoE coverage. Unless you regard Shenling's Pyronado as wave clear, Linny Mono Pyro is primarily for single target damage. Fortunately, however, it is one of the easier teams to gear up since for most people, the only new character you have to work on is him. Everyone has Bennett, everyone has Shenling, and anyone who's been playing for a while most likely has Kazuha and or Farina because those are 2 of the best units in the game. So despite being a very specific team like Nilou, the payoff once again is well worth the investment. Linny essentially has all the quality of life features that Yoimiya wishes she had. Alrighty, that concludes my updated list of Genshin's best teams. To repeat one last time, just because a team is not on this list doesn't mean they're bad or not worth using anymore. Raiden National, Breeze, Taser, Soup, those teams are still more than capable of handling the game's toughest content. Be that as it may though, there are a lot of new teams to be on the lookout for, so because of opportunity cost, I find these teams to be ever so slightly stronger. I hope this was insightful to those who needed it and entertaining to those who wanted it. If you enjoyed the video, it would be awesome if you could leave a like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, @server, and check out my updated Best Element video if you haven't yet. But till next time, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.
You'll do. Well then. It's quite the generation. Ah, those are monkeys. Nope. Not dealing with a ghost. Let's see this very well on the map. What is this? Oh. Oh my. It's a band. Oh my god. An enchanting table? Someone's been experimenting here. Is there a crafting table? Oh, well, that sucks. Ow, 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 ow. I'm gonna die. Oh, spider. Cave spiders spawn in here. I should have lit this place up sooner. Oh. Well then, that sucked. I heard the scouting, but it was too late. At least I'm not hungry anymore. Villagers. This really a nice place to live in? Yeah, there's zombies. Alright, they have a golem. But, I should help them out at least. Bingo. Best way I can help them right now, though, honestly, is just by leaving them alone. the leather. Shit. Oh my god, why would you play an ad like that in the middle of the song? Actually, I feel quite hot.
This is Gummy.
Liyue Harbor is always changing, so it is only fitting that Lantern Light should change its turn.
Wushou Dance is famous in Chunyu Vale. Performers might be invited to promote the opening of a business or to spread good fortune during a holiday season.
Miss Karina is now one of my esteemed clients.
Is it, Kayla?
Is that so?
You're quite right, Miss Tao.
How about we grab some?
Power creep can feel like a looming risk in any long-running game, but in a gacha like Genshin, it's even more of a concern. Some would even argue it's inevitable. Many people invest a lot of time and money into their accounts, and the prospect of seeing their hard-earned characters fall by the wayside can be worrying. While many are content to play the game on their own terms and are happy to disregard the most difficult content, anyone who tries to keep up with the abyss has to keep this possibility in mind. While Hoyo has managed to avoid much power creep so far, in many games it ramps up over time, and the release of Novelet made me start to ask the question, are we going to start seeing power creep in Genshin? So that we're on the same page, let's first set out what exactly power creep is. I tend to think of it as taking two main forms, direct and ambient. Direct power creep is when a new character fulfills the same role as an older one and is objectively better in that role. A well-designed combat system can make it possible to avoid this for the most part, and when it does happen, it can be less of a problem than it might seem at first glance. Ambient power creep is a bigger problem. Endgame content tends to get more difficult over time, since that's the only way to consistently provide a challenge for long-term players. Older characters start to fall behind, and eventually teams built around them are no longer viable when aiming to complete the hardest content. Even if a game avoids direct power creep, and characters tend to remain unique in their respective roles, ambient power creep can still be hard to avoid. Both of these are particularly hard to judge in Genshin because there's such a variance in the level of investment each player makes into any given character. The diversity of how much people prioritize each character, what constellations they aim for, what weapons they have available, how lucky they have been in the many layers of artifact RNG, all these things add up. Either way, the business model of any gacha game relies on people pulling for new characters. The easiest way for the developers to incentivize spending is a combination of both types of power creep, so even if it hasn't happened in the past, it's always a risk. For me, the release of Novelet started setting off those alarm bells, especially when comparing him to Ayato. In the Hydro main DPS role, which Ayato is tailored for, my Novelet is already stronger despite having less investment than my Ayato. He hits harder, his range is larger, he hits more often, and his rotations are smoother. In terms of power, there's now really no situation where I would bring Ayato out instead of Novelet, aside from the times I just want some variety or maybe some slight support capability. Ayato was never a crowd favourite in terms of power in the first place, but to see him become so clearly outclassed in his own area is undeniably sad. This feels like a textbook example of direct power creep, which made me want to look a little more carefully into how Hoyo has been dealing with it so far, and see if we can get a feel for whether we might start seeing this happen more often in the future. The worry, of course, is that if direct power creep starts happening more often, then ambient power creep is far more likely to happen. Let's look at the strategies Hoyo has used to avoid this up to now, touch on reverse power creep, and then speculate what the future might hold. 3 years worth of new characters gives us a lot of insight into how Hoyo have managed this so far. Most new characters fill new niches by combining an existing role with a new element or a unique facet, by providing new nuances on the same combination, or by creating a new role entirely. For example, let's look at how they've handled different shielders. The main differentiator for pure shielders is that their shield uses a different element. The playstyles of characters like Zhongli, Layla, Kirara, and arguably Beidou too, tends to be fairly similar, with only minor variations in how their shields function. While Zhongli hands down has the strongest shield, the others remain highly usable due to providing different elements and therefore enabling different reactions and resonances. They could easily add a similar character each for Animal and Hydro, and the new characters would open up new niche and unlock new teams without affecting how usable the other pure shielders are. And it's not just elements which make a huge difference. Both Layla and Ziona provide a cryo shield, but they're very different characters. Layla's shield is far stronger, since it's her main focus, though she also does apply a small amount of cryo. Diona, on the other hand, also provides healing, cryo application, and other support utilities at higher constellations. Despite them both being cryo shielders, they fulfill very different roles overall and result in very different team compositions. Going even further, Hoya has a great track record of coming up with new takes on existing mechanics in Genshin, which provide unexpected benefits. Baizu's shield is very unique. While other shields have large HP pools and provide solid protection until they're broken, his shield is very weak but refreshes every couple of seconds. This sounded very underwhelming in theory, but in practice it's brilliant for a lot of characters
Is that what I
who
think
need
it is?
interruption
Okay, yeah,
resistance
this is
over
a really
longer
good
period
seed
of
to
time
start on
and
with.
benefit from consistent dendro application. This level of creativity in how characters work means that the potential for unique niches is much greater than it might seem at first. Even when multiple characters with the same element focus primarily on the same role, they still tend to be tailored to different team compositions. The best example of this is the Anemo support and crowd control role. There are currently 3 characters who focus on this role: Venti, Kazuha, and Sucrose. It would have been easy for these 3 to be completely interchangeable, but there's enough differentiation within their niche for them to provide different strengths, which leads them each to be more suited to different types of team. Venti has the most powerful crowd control, but also helps restore energy to your team, making him more valuable in particularly energy-hungry teams. Kazuha provides an elemental damage boost, which is extremely sought after in teams focusing on additive or amplifying reactions, and is essential for enabling mono-elemental teams. Sucrose provides an elemental mastery buff, which is brilliant in transformative reaction teams. I have all 3 and I use both Kazuha and Sucrose regularly. Venti is great, but my builds tend to have enough energy recharge that his take on the role is less valuable to my teams. All 3 have their place though, despite how much their intended roles overlap. A couple of other notable examples of this are Hu Tao versus Yoimiya, where Yoi has a lower damage ceiling but can be more comfortable to use, while also being more effective against certain types of enemies. Or Vishal and Yamiko, where the difference tends to be more down to smaller details like how the team rotation lines up or how the main DPS attack style works with the offload and replier. Genshin's combat system has enough complexity that even in a seemingly straightforward role, there's enough nuance to allow for multiple viable characters to share the same space. For the most part, the closest thing to direct power creep that we've seen so far in Genshin is when a 5-star character fills the same role as a 4-star one. It's expected for a 5-star to be more powerful, but in the few cases where it's happened, it hasn't really been an issue. Yelan and Xingqiu is the prime example of this, with both characters having a very similar kit. As before, there are nuances makes Xingqiu more suited to some teams. For example, his pseudo shield and healing can be very useful, but looking at the damage they each provide as a sub DPS, Yelan comes out far ahead. Despite this, Xingqiu remains relevant. He's still a fantastic sub DPS who is central to many teams, and it's pretty common for people to use him on one side of focus while Yelan's busy on the other. There are also some extremely powerful teams which use both Yelan and Xingqiu to great effect. The few cases where a character has more or less become obsolete are when their playstyle is just too clunky compared to newer characters, or when they have been outpaced on quality of life rather than raw strength. Please a good example of someone being left behind due to their clunkier playstyle. She's quite powerful, but to get the most out of her it takes a lot of effort, and even then she's at best only equal to others such as Hu Tao, Yoimiya, Lini, or Yanfei. Since the others offer a much smoother experience, Klee tends to not see as much usage as she did originally. Gigi is the perfect example of someone outpaced due to quality of life. She's an absolutely fantastic healer, but is much too heavily focused on healing for her to feel at all useful. She applies very little cryo and has high energy requirements and does not generate energy at all, so even though she has not been power crept directly in terms of healing, she's largely obsolete because all the other healers have something else they bring to the team, or providing enough healing to keep you alive. Thankfully, these kinds of issues have been the exception rather than the norm so far, and it's far more common for older characters to be given a new lease on life when new characters or mechanics are added which synergize well. The one place where power creep seems to be consistently marching on is in the strength of constellations.
I haven't even done anything, you son of a bitch.
Many early 5-stars had merely decent constellations which just built on top of their C0 kit and either added some extra utility or some useful bonuses, though Hu Tao C1 was an early one which did make a huge difference to her kit. Over time, the strength increases provided by these constellations has noticeably grown, to the point where the numbers for the recent C6 5-stars just look absurd. Ultimately, the power creep in this area doesn't really matter as long as the C0 versions are kept viable. If anything, most people who have those constellations likely end up finding the game a bit boring, and they almost have to do abyss runs with one character on each side just to keep themselves entertained. So, Hoyo has done a pretty good job of avoiding direct power creep, and as a result, ambient power creep hasn't been a big issue. However, one thing they have fallen into a bit is called reverse power creep. Reverse power creep is the term for when new characters are less powerful than the older ones, which is very clearly a trend in Genshin. Several of the 4-star characters who were available on release remain among the most powerful characters in the game. Bennett, Xiangling, and Xingqiu in particular are still core to many of the strongest teams in the game, plus Sucrose and Fischl have similar longevity. So far, the best 4-star characters who have been released since then tend to be limited to a smaller niche or lack some of the quirks which makes that group of original characters so powerful. Some of this is likely due to unintended consequences. Xiangling's Pyronado has no ICD, can snapshot buffs, as well as having long off-field duration, and I suspect it's unlikely Hoyo really understood how overpowered these small characters be. Subsequent characters seem much more finely tuned in terms of how their abilities interact with the underlying logic of the elemental system, so it seems likely Xiangling will continue to be unmatched, perhaps until they release a 5-star equivalent. Bennett's buff stands out as being extremely powerful, while also being useful to the majority of characters. This contrasts with the support characters who have been released since,
But if the
whose
Pyro
buffs tend to
Archon is
either
just
be weaker
Xiangling
than
and
Bennett's
Bennett
if they're as
combined.
general purpose as his, or similarly strong but much more focused on one specific niche. Even Shenhe, a 5-star character, follows this pattern. The buff is potentially more powerful than Bennett's, but she's locked into her small niche and sees much smaller usage as a result. Genshin's battle system is more complicated than most, and Hoyo will have learned a ton from how players have used characters since launch, giving them much more control over the relative power levels of new characters. However, I don't think the reverse power creep is necessarily a bad thing. The main downside is that it could discourage people from building newer characters, since they would not have the pressure of needing to in order to keep up. While this may be a factor for some people, I'm personally not motivated by it. What I want from Genshin's combat is variety. I love trying unique and unusual teams, exploring how different characters' kits interact with one another, and discovering unexpected synergies. This approach taken so far has mostly catered to my preferences. New characters are focused on bringing novelty rather than higher numbers, and it absolutely keeps me interested. I do still like to complete the hardest content, and I do find it a little sad when some new character I like using in the overworld is just outclassed by the usual suspects. I'm much happier when new characters are like Yunjin, who is a viable replacement for Bennett in specific situations, than characters like Candace, who has a fun playstyle which just does not compete. Or worse, Kaveh, whose most viable teams are centered around actively avoiding triggering his intended mechanics. Of course, any character is viable with enough investment and skill, but for those of us who would prefer to have many good characters rather than a small number who have been hyper-invested into, balance is definitely important. A middle road of making new characters' strength be roughly equivalent to the older ones but more focused on a smaller niche would be the sweet spot for keeping at least me happy in the long run. So what can we expect in the future? At its core, the driving force for this will be how Genshin's revenue changes over time, how important it is to Hoyo, and how the community reacts to the characters released. In Genshin, the combination of characters is often more important than raw power of each individual member in the team, and the mechanics of the game do tend to favor flexibility and support utility more than raw power, all of which should hopefully make it less likely that Hoyo will walk down the path of introducing power creep. Focus more on targeting new niches, since that makes the game more varied without making older characters obsolete. So unless the finances change drastically or the community changes its
Why is it already nighttime? I thought I fell asleep.
Approach. Thanks to the complexity of Genshin's real-time combat, they have a lot of tools at their disposal for tuning new characters and adjusting synergy to keep things balanced, which seems to be getting more use over time. The downside to this is potential for characters like Dea, who was intended to introduce a new role which seems to just not have worked in practice. There's always the hope that such missteps can be solved by a new artifact set or new gameplay features though. Overall, as As long as Genshin's
that a
popularity
heartbeat?
doesn't suddenly
I'm dead.
nosedive, I fully expect to see new characters continue to follow the same pattern. The current player base largely appreciates the flexibility that the approach so far has provided, and while new characters are often doom-posted at first, more often than not they're well received in the end. Assuming they keep to the same approach, we should see more new niches filled, more potential teams unlocked, and more variety in gameplay. Most new characters will at best be comparable to the OG ones in terms of strength, but be more focused on a smaller niche. A few will be disappointingly weak, while one or two will be unexpectedly powerful. They'll keep experimenting with new roles and new mechanics, which will be a little hit or miss, and new artifact sets and weapons, which will also become more varied over time. I'm expecting Neverland to just be one of those few who stand out, rather than a sign of things to come. If that turns out to be the case, then I'll be a very happy dinosaur. And please, Hoya, give us some more interesting endgame content which isn't just a plain old DPS check. Until next time!
What do I do? It appears there's two of them. What can I do for you? What can I do that no one else can do? What can I do for you? What can I do for you? Human man, you are so much fun. I hadn't planned on finding you quite this entertaining. I like your I like the way human beings play. I like playing along. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What can I do for you? What can I do that no one else can? No one else can. My god, jelly donuts are so scary. Where can I find this Grimoire of Gaia thing? Nada. Thunder. Banshee. That's not good. I should. Unfortunately, this place doesn't have a bounty board. Oh my god, what is that? Oh my god! Mystic robe. Ominous wood. I didn't need to do that, that was so dangerous. Somewhere out in the world, it's waiting for you. If the one good thing you lost, when to find it again, you will miss all your business now and then. There's battles up ahead, they're waiting for you. You will be knocked down, but keep on charging through. Even if my love turns into endless pain and dries up all the tears I haven't shed, I will be there for oh my. It's
but you'll find it inside that strong voice that says no, it's always there. Be battered and bruised again and again. You won't be knocked down, but keep on charging through. Even if that fight goes on for endless years, that breaks my body into shattered bones, I will be that warrior.
I guess I'll stop there for now.